Welcome to this edition of the Dead Podcast. I'm your host, Cam McKinney. This is episode number 91 of the podcast, and I want to say up top, I understand that all sports are canceled. I am still going to be recording episodes of this podcast for an escape for myself. I hope you use it as an escape also. I am no expert on what is going on. I am not going to try to talk about when sports are going to start up again. I am just going to stick to things that I know about sports. So for this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about Tom Brady's impending free agency. The only current sports story worth talking about right now, as all the other professional sports have shut down. The NBA, the NHL, baseball is going to not start on time. So let's talk about Brady's impending free agency. And then the next couple of weeks, I do have plans for this podcast. Next week, I'm going to talk about the top 10 NBA players of the 2010s, starting with 10 through 6 week, and then the week after that, I'll do 5-1. So again, I hope you use this podcast as escape. I'm going to use it as escape from the current events of what's happening in America. Let's talk about Tom Brady's impending free agency. You have to mention, he has spent 20 seasons with the New England Patriots. 20 seasons. Half of his life, he has been a member of the New England Patriots. This fact both hurts and helps his willingness to want to leave the Patriots, because he knows there's always this idea that when you're in one place, no matter how great it is, that it's always greener on the other side. Of course, there are moments where Brady has not valued what he has in the New England Patriots. As fans, we all look around the league and go, there's no better football organization right now than the New England Patriots. Like, if Spygate had happened to the Cleveland Browns, they would not have rebounded from that. If Deflategate had happened to the New York Jets, they would not have won another Super Bowl after that. Whether or not you think the Patriots are like a shady organization, they have bounced back from controversy better than any football team in the history of the National Football League. And that could also be an argument against the New England Patriots, because maybe Tom Brady is sick and tired of these controversies coming up, like Spygate, like Deflategate, and like a Patriots filming a scout at a Cincinnati Bengals game. He is in fact 43 years old. It's not that hard to believe that maybe he wants a quieter life in the National Football League and not to be talked about and not to be on one of the most hated football franchises in football. I mean, the guy does have 6 Super Bowls. If he wins 1 or 2 more Super Bowls, how much does that really affect Tom Brady's legacy with the New England Patriots? That, to me, is the number one reason why he's exploring other options. Because being with the Patriots and being stable, it doesn't move the needle. If he wins more, it's just he's great and the Patriots are great and they need each other. If he leaves, there is this idea that he can prove to the world he can win without Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And I think that might be something worth going for. Even as a Patriots fan, I'm a little excited about that idea of him trying to do it without them. I think it's quite likely he wants to go to a place where all the pressure is not on him. Like, a team with a great running game and a great defense is the perfect place for Tom Brady right now in his career. Although I'll say this, the one advantage of having Tom Brady used to be he didn't make dumb mistakes. Last year was an all-time high for me watching Tom Brady make really dumb, stupid mistakes. So that's troublesome moving forward here. I'm just one of those people who find it so hard to believe that it's going to come down to money. Like, is he really going to take a 5-year, $120 million deal just for the sake of taking it? And is that even going to be offered? There's also this idea that all he wants is respect from Bill Belichick. I find that, again, so hard to believe that he's just going to go to a new team because his former employer didn't respect him enough. Now, I'm going to be honest. There are only 2 teams to me that Tom Brady should even consider leaving the New England Patriots for. Here are the 2 teams. The first one is the Tennessee Titans, which is being talked about the most. It has Mike Vrabel, somebody he's used to, that if they keep Derrick Henry, he would have an all-pro running back to go with him. They were able to succeed with Ryan Tannehill having an unimpressive postseason. That's the type of team for me that Tom Brady would want to go to, where not all the pressure would be on him. They are a real, stable, up-and-coming football team. A football team worth Tom Brady Brady going to? And they have decent wide receivers like A.J. Brown, and Adam Humphries is the ideal wide receiver for Tom Brady, a guy who can catch like 100 balls easily. That team, if they kept Derrick Henry and get Tom Brady, would be a run-first team. And all Tom Brady would have to do is step up in the postseason, which most people still believe the guy who's won 6 Super Bowls should be able to do. For example, if Tom Brady goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he would have to carry the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He would have to sling the ball all game long, and it would all be about him and the success he has game after game after game. The same with the Raiders. All the pressure would be on Tom Brady to win all those regular season football games. He would be exhausted even getting to the postseason. The Niners make sense, but I don't believe that's going to happen. They're not going to swap Brady and Garoppolo. Garoppolo back to New England. Brady ends up a Niner. That's not going to happen. The other perfect situation for me is the Chicago Bears, who don't want to move on from Mitchell Trubisky. So if you really want to keep Mitchell Trubisky, but you really don't believe he can win meaningful football games yet, guess what you do? You bring in 43-year-old Tom Brady. He plays 2 years for you. Mitchell Trubisky gets to sit and watch Tom Brady play football and learns from the greatest quarterback of all time. You made a huge investment in Khalil Mack. You need to win some major football games. You have Matt Nagy, a really good offensive coach. Tom Brady could definitely succeed with the Chicago Bears. Again, you have Khalil Mack. You have a really good, solid defense. That missed kick really ruined the Bears the year before. Get back to the postseason, and this time bring Tom Brady so you can make a significant run at a Super Bowl. That's the type of team that I think should really be invested in trying to get Tom Brady to join them. You have a number 1 receiver in Allen Robinson, who caught a career-high 98 catches with the Chicago Bears last year. I think Tom Brady would be an excellent fit for the Chicago Bears, who really don't want to move on from Mitchell Trubisky. So the number 1 way to not move on from him is get an aging quarterback who is, by the way, a legend. Get Mitchell Trubisky to sit under him and learn from the master. Because each and every season you pay a huge sum of money for Khalil Mack and you traded away all those first-round draft picks and you're not winning, you are wasting your window of Khalil Mack being an elite defender who can almost single-handedly get you to the postseason, like he did when Mitchell Trubisky wasn't playing all that well 2 years ago and you got to the postseason. You're telling me if Tom Brady doesn't become a Chicago Bear, they can't make the postseason? I disagree with you. I think Brady could get them to the postseason, and I think they could make a run. They made the postseason 2 years ago, and I think the Bears can make another run if they add Tom Brady to the mix. Those are the 2 teams for me that make the most sense, the Tennessee Titans and the Chicago Bears. Because those teams would have talent around Tom Brady, and not all the pressure would be on Tom Brady. If he goes to the Raiders, all the pressure is on him. If he goes to the Buccaneers, all the pressure is on him. If he goes to the Chargers, all the pressure is on him. People are comparing this to when Peyton Manning was a free agent. Peyton Manning was coming off an injury, but he was younger than Tom Brady. Tom Brady in 2 years, when he joins his new team, is not going to throw for 50 touchdowns. That's not going to happen. You have to be more realistic with your expectations for Tom Brady. So if he joins the teams like the Titans and the Bears that have talent on them, I think he could help a winner reach their potential. That's, to me, what Tom Brady can do at this point in time. Not be the face of a franchise, not carry the franchise, but be that final piece to make them, at the very least, a very competitive football team. And one of the reasons I feel this way is because even in a year where I thought he made a ton of mistakes, he still only threw for 8 interceptions. That's what these teams need. A guy who's not going to turn over the ball and is sometimes going to be clutch. That's what Tom Brady has the potential to do, is not turn over the ball and give your team a chance to win the game. Because I still think there are clutch moments still in Brady to come. Now I want to talk about this from the Patriots side of things. And first and foremost, I think it would be almost impossible for Bill Belichick and Tom Brady to win without the other at this exact moment in time. They are, in my mind, the best coach-player duo in the history of professional sports. Red Auerbach, Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich, those are the type of company they are in. They have won 6 Super Bowls together. Joe Montana, Bill Walsh, Joe Torre, Derek Jeter, like that's the kind of company, again, that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are in. And by the way, I think they're better than any of those other duos I just mentioned. Because they've evolved together. Like Tom Brady was a completely different player at the start of the Patriots' first dynasty. And then by 2007, he became the best player in the NFL. The Patriots used to be a more defensive-minded team. Then they became an offensive juggernaut. And now they're somewhere in the middle where these last couple of seasons they've competed for Super Bowls being both. They have evolved together. That's what's so unique about this 20-year partnership, the evolution of both. Bill Belichick has coached differently since Tom Brady's evolved into the best player in the history of football, which he was not projected to be when this all began. He was a 6th-round draft pick who was Drew Bledsoe's backup, and no one would have imagined would turn out to be the greatest player in franchise history and arguably the greatest football player of all time. Because before those two paired up, the Patriots really didn't matter in the NFL landscape. It was the Niners, it was the Cowboys, it was the Steelers. In modern day football, you cannot talk about football without mentioning the New England Patriots winning 6 Super Bowls. They are the franchise of this past decade. Whether or not you hate them, whether or not you love them, they are the NFL standards in football today. Since 2000, they are the only football dynasty, and I personally want to see Tom Brady play his entire career as a member of the New England Patriots. I want him to be like Derek Jeter and play with only one team, not be Michael Jordan and Joe Montana who play with other teams, the Wizards and Chiefs, and it's just a blip on their radar. I think Tom Brady deserves the perfect legacy because no one in 20 years of playing football has accomplished more than Tom Brady. He's won MVPs. He's won Super Bowls. He was a 6th-round draft pick. He has given everything to the New England Patriots, made them a household name, won the biggest games imaginable, has been clutch each and every single time. I think even if his play is not to the standards it used to be, that the New England Patriots should do everything in their power to keep Tom Brady. That's why when Derek Jeter at the end of his career was a 270 hitter, you know why the Yankees kept him on the roster? Because he was Derek Jeter. That's what I think this comes down to. This is Tom Brady. I don't think he should play for another team. It's not about winning games. It's not about that. It's about the feeling I have when I think about Tom Brady playing for another team. And it is not a good feeling. Sometimes that's the magic of sports. It's not all about the X's and O's and the winning football games. This guy has won the most football games ever in the history of football. The biggest games ever, 6 times. He has done everything for this organization. So again, they should do everything in their power to keep this man as the quarterback of the New England Patriots. It's just for 2 more seasons. I'm not asking for them to give him a 5-year contract. Let the guy play till he's 45. Let him have his TB12 miracle, whatever, and just keep him as the Patriots quarterback. I don't think there's any way the Patriots are competing for a Super Bowl title with or without Tom Brady next season. I think they can make the postseason with Tom Brady, but they're not my Super Bowl favorites next year with or without him. I just don't see the rush to get rid of your greatest player of all time. I just don't see it. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. He's not the reason you didn't win a Super Bowl last year. He struggled. They all struggled. It's fine. Just keep him as your quarterback. Let him finish his career as a Patriot. No one wants to see Jarrett Stidham as the starter quarterback for the New England Patriots next season. No one wants to see Andy Dalton. No one wants to see Ryan Tannehill, Teddy Bridgewater. No one wants to see these other options. They want to see Tom Brady because he is Tom Brady, and he's earned that right to, when he's not playing up to his standards, still be able to be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. Again, he had 24 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's not that awful of a season. My plan would be keep Tom Brady as your quarterback, get a top-tier tight end or two, and maybe bolster your wide receiving core, and make one more 2-year run with Tom Brady as your quarterback, and see if you can maybe win another Super Bowl. And if you can't, that's okay. But I think Tom Brady should be a member of the New England Patriots if he wants to be. And again, that's the big question. Does he even want to be? I don't know. But if he does, and he's not willing to, if he's willing to sign a contract that's reasonable, I think he should remain the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots for at least the next 2 seasons. Because there's nothing sadder seeing franchise players move on from their teams. Patrick Ewing moving on from the Knicks was a sad day for New York Knicks fans. Those things are sad. Brett Favre leaving the Packers. Those are the type of things that should not happen. And let's also not act like the Patriots have Aaron Rodgers waiting in the wing. They don't. This is my one exception. If the Detroit Lions call you and are willing to give up Matthew Stafford for basically nothing, I would take that deal and make Matthew Stafford my starting quarterback, because I think you could compete for a Super Bowl with Bill Belichick and Matthew Stafford moving forward. That's the only way I'm moving on from Tom Brady, is if one of these teams that have a top-tier quarterback, like a Matthew Stafford, heck, even if the Falcons called and were like, here's Matt Ryan for nothing, I would take those players. But I'm not doing it for Jarrett Stidham, Andy Dalton, Ryan Tannehill, Teddy Bridgewater, any of the names that are in free agency. I'm not giving up on Tom Brady's legacy so that I can go 8-8 with any of those guys. Sorry, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry, enough's enough. When a guy delivers 6 championships for you, it's okay if you have a 2-year window when maybe you're not so good and maybe his play isn't at that elite level anymore. Heck, the LA Lakers signed Kobe Bryant to a massive deal at the end of his career that everyone thought it was a bad idea. But you know what the Lakers were avoiding most of all? They weren't paying Kobe Bryant for what he was going to do. They were paying Kobe Bryant for what he did. And that's why I was on board with what they were doing, because they didn't want to see Kobe Bryant in another basketball uniform. It was a play for his legacy. That's what this is about. It is for Tom Brady's legacy. He should be a New England Patriot for his entire career if he so chooses to be. That's what this is about. You have won 6 Super Bowls. 7 and 8 don't really matter right now. You've proven you're one of the best franchises in football. You have the greatest head coach of all time. You have the greatest quarterback of all time. You've won 6 Super Bowls. If you have 2 seasons where at the very least you're going 10-6 and maybe you're not the best team in football, I think that's okay for Tom Brady's legacy, because I think the most important thing to me right now is keeping Tom Brady as a member of the New England Patriots. That's how I feel about this current situation. And I'm not even the biggest Tom Brady fan ever. I just feel like when you've won that many times, you should do whatever is in your power to keep that player a member of that organization. He's won 6 Super Bowls. I also want to bring this up. I think if you don't treat him right in this moment, other players are going to look at the New England Patriots and be like, why would I want to join that team when they won't even treat the GOAT right? You know what I mean? If they just let Tom Brady go and they're not willing to pay him whatever he wants or whatever, I think there are going to be people who are like, why would I want to join the New England Patriots? It's one way when you're not paying up for Richard Seymour and you're trading him away, or you're not paying for Atiq Khalib. But when you're not treating your star franchise player properly, I think that's when other players around the league look at it and go, wow, I think Tom Brady at 42, he might be 42, but I think you should give the man what he wants. I think most football players are looking at the situation and are going, wow, are they really going to do this to Tom Brady? Are they really not going to give him what he wants? Because I think to the current football players in the league, they respect Tom Brady more than they respect the New England Patriots. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the Tom Brady free agency. Although I think it would be interesting if he became a member of the Titans or the Bears, like I mentioned, I think the best case scenario for all is for him to just remain with the Patriots for 2 more years and then go into retirement and be remembered as the greatest player of all time, because I think that's what he's owed. I think the Patriots owe him that at the very least. Sometimes in sports, I think legacies matter more than winning. And at this point, I think Tom Brady's legacy matters than the Patriots winning their 7th Super Bowl. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but that's my feeling. That's my stance. I think Tom Brady should end his career as a member of the New England Patriots because he went from a 6th round pick to a 6-time Super Bowl champ. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Ed Ed Podcast. I'm your host, Cam McKinney. There will be new episodes of this podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. And like I said, even though there won't be live sports to talk about, next Monday there will be a new episode where I count down the top 10 basketball players of the 2010s, starting with 10 through 6 in the first week, and then the second week will be 5 to 1. So tune into that and please rate, review, and subscribe.